Let's talk about level 974 of the Backrooms. Let's call this level Mr. Kitty's house. This whole level has an adorable pastel pink aesthetic, just like this. Here's where the level gets weird. This guy, right here. This tall, dark entity is named Mr. Kitty, and he is completely harmless. Mr. Kitty simply pops up around the house and watches you while you explore. He is extremely tall and has these long, lanky limbs. I just wouldn't want to stay in this level too long.
Deadly places on Earth that you can't visit. 1. Gruinard Island. Deadly toxins have filled the air from when it was used for experiments in World War I. 2. Lake Matron. Due to high levels of salt contents, everything that touches the lake turns to pure stone.
This dude wearing, of all things, a television on his head. And why in the world is he leaving an old-fashioned box TV on a stranger's front porch? It's a mystery that's baffling police outside Richmond, Virginia. It usually happens around midnight, and TV dude is apparently fully aware he's on surveillance video. Watch him wave at the camera. As of this week, he's delivered at least 60 TV sets. One looks like a tube television set manufactured in 1986 by Toshiba.
Oh my god.
Yo ho, all hands, hoist the colors high. Heave ho, thieves and bears.
Never camp alone with a camera. I'm 22F, an avid nature photographer. I regularly go on hikes into the deep middle of woods and forests to catch the rarest beauties of nature. Anyway, I head out to this location I've been meaning to go to for a while. Some of my photography friends have been before and got stunning photos of deer, badgers and various rare birds. I drove as far as I could before the woods started, parked my car up in a lay-by, grabbed my tent, camera and supplies and head into the forest. It was quite misty but the forecast said it would clear up overnight. I found a badger den after about 30 minutes of walking into the forest, so decided this would be the perfect spot to set up my camera to hopefully catch some badgers on film overnight. I pitched my tent just far enough away not to disturb or scare the badgers and went over to set up my camera. I had it facing so it would catch lots of the entrances in the same shot, plugged it into the power pack, and left it running. I had a motion sensor so if it was to catch movement overnight it would begin filming. Everything seemed fine. I was in the middle of the woods, away from many paths, so it was very unlikely anyone would disturb me in the night. The next morning I woke up and could see fresh trails around the den, so I knew I would have caught some badgers on camera. I was so excited. I tried to check the footage on my camera straight away but both it, and the power pack, had died, and unusually the power pack was no longer plugged into my camera. Weird. I was sure I had plugged it in. I just hoped it had enough battery to catch the badgers on film. I'd have been gutted if I'd missed them. Nervous I'd messed up, I decided to head back to my car to charge up my camera and have a look at the pictures. I packed up everything and walked back to the car. It took about half an hour for my camera to charge up and turn back on. It turns on and I go to my camera roll. The first video was of the badger den, but I couldn't see anything there. There must have been some movement to trigger the camera to begin recording but I couldn't see anything within the shot. It was recorded at 2:30 a.m. After about 20 seconds of nothing the recording stops. I flick to the next recording, and it's a photo of my tent. I flick to the next and it's a photo of me alone, asleep, inside my tent. This was followed by about 40 more photos of me sleeping in my tent. The final photo, taken at 5:30 a.m., about half an hour before I woke up, was a picture of my car. I could feel the fear rush over me. My hairs stood up on the back of my neck. I began driving and I drove as fast as I could. There was no signal and no one was else around for miles. I managed to get home safely. I still don't know who took the photos, or why they were taken. I've not been camping since.
Jelly bean.
A stranger lived in my walls for at least 4 months. I had no idea. Long story short, me and my partner finally moved in together a few years ago. We live in a super nice house, with 2 stories and a big loft. It's located on a really well-kept estate. We have great neighbors. There's never any trouble around the area, never any disturbances. Anyway, fast forward to 4 months ago, I'd woken up in the morning and came downstairs to most the lights in the kitchen left on. This was weird because I'm a bit OCD about it. I always make sure everything is turned off before we go to bed. I'll always double check twice. I asked my girlfriend if she had come down during the night, but she said she hadn't, and I always wake up when she moves or gets out of bed. I checked the cupboards, windows and doors in case we had been broken into or stolen, but everything seemed in place and undisturbed. I put it down to me just forgetting to turn them off, as unusual as that was. It was 2 weeks later I came down another morning and a piece of paper I had left on the table had moved. It was now on the countertop. I knew for a fact I had left it on the table, and my girlfriend was away for the weekend, so it was only me left in the house. I began to think I was going crazy, even though I knew for a fact I had left it on the table next to my laptop. I also noticed a lot of food that I was buying was being eaten much quicker than we usually would eat it. Boxes of cereal would last a few days when it would usually last us weeks, and canned food would go missing. I just thought it was my girlfriend eating more than usual, and when I'd ask her she would deny it, so I left it, thinking it's not good to argue with her about eating more food. I figured she just didn't want to admit to it for whatever reason. Fast forward to a month ago, my girlfriend woke up well before me. She got showered and headed downstairs to make us both coffee. I heard her screaming through tears for me to come downstairs immediately. She was extremely distressed. I jumped out of bed and sprinted downstairs. A stranger lived in my walls for at least 4 months. I had no idea. Stood in the kitchen doorway was my girlfriend. I looked through past her and could see all the cupboards open, the chairs and table flipped over, food packaging broken and everywhere, drawers pulled out and the contents thrown over the kitchen. The weird thing, neither of us heard anything last night. We both slept perfectly. And we're both light sleepers. We phoned the police and searched for anything that was missing, or a break-in point. There wasn't any, and nothing had gone missing. Theirs was no explanation for the disturbance in the kitchen. I joked with my girlfriend about it being a ghost. Anyway, this was enough to prompt me to set up a camera. In fact, I set up a few. We went to bed and couldn't sleep. We were too focused on listening for any noise downstairs. We heard nothing. The next morning we both went downstairs together, and there, right in front of us, was our food cupboard wide open. We had definitely closed it the night before. So I got my laptop and pulled up the CCTV. At about half one there's movement. An air vent in the ceiling of the kitchen opens up. And out climbs an extremely scruffy looking man. Very skinny with extremely long hair wearing torn up clothes. He goes into the food cupboard, sticks his hand into the food boxes and eats various stuff, has a drink straight out of the milk carton in the fridge, then is seen to wander around the house. He wanders around the living room, picks up our photos and carefully puts them back where they were. After about 30-40 minutes he climbs onto the windowsill, pulls himself back up through the hole, replaces the vent, and isn't seen again on the cameras. We immediately called the police. They opened up the vent and could see the man laid flat in the ceiling, in between the beams holding the ceiling up. The police managed to get him out of the ceiling and arrested him. We still don't know how he got in there, or how long he was actually there for. I'm just glad he isn't there any longer, as far as we know. We now have an alarm downstairs that triggers at any motion through the night, and have cameras both inside and outside our property.